open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click inside the chat box and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the enter key on your keyboard or click the send button. Your comment will then appear in the chat for everyone watching the live stream to see. If you want to send another comment, just type it in the chat box again and press enter or send. Your new comment will show up below your previous one.
Politicians, journalists, and the man in the street have all said that we in the Caribbean, or even in CARICOM, don't recognize enough the similarities of our challenges and opportunities in this region. This is the Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast number 138, September 29, 2024. Tomorrow is by-election day in Northeast Center and in Jamaica. Today, we're going to talk to a top-ranking teachers union official in Guyana. He's a teacher and a politician, Coretta McDonald, and she's far more. In recent weeks in Jamaica, a massive thunderbolt of fake news emerged. It claimed with elaborate speculation as well as certainty and lies that a massive amount of oil was found off Jamaica's coast. In short, they were saying we were rich, even though they were not telling us. We are not resurrecting that falsehood. We are going to give you a view of what's happening in Guyana, where Exxon started exploring one of the largest oil fields found anywhere on earth in recent times. Well, we'll also turn to local matters, including how seniors in Jamaica are treated. Welcome again, and thank you for sharing this podcast. If you haven't yet done so, please subscribe. We encourage you to send your comments during the program, and we told you that at the stop. And you may also send to our WhatsApp number, 876-503-9995. That's 503-9995. With us today are regular panelists, Desmond Richards and Winnie Anderson-Brown. Mary White is still off. You'll soon see her. I'm Frankly McKnight. So let's welcome Coretta McDonald, our CARICOM sister. She is the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, and she's a Member of Parliament from the Opposition Partnership for National Unity, ANU, and Alliance for Change. She shadows education. Welcome, Mrs. McDonald, and you have the floor. So please, go ahead. Tell us about what's the education situation in Jamaica. I'm sorry, in Guyana, as you see it. Go ahead. Is she with us? Yeah, she's with us.
Welcome to Coretta.
Coretta, you go ahead. You are muted, I think.
She's moving.
You're muted, Coretta. Go ahead, please. Is she hearing us? Coretta, you are muted. Oh boy.
Let me just sign out and sign in again.
No, we are hearing you. We are hearing you now. We are hearing you now. We're hearing
I don't hear anything.
We are hearing you now. But you were muted. All right. Okay. We're going to see. Joshua will tell us when she's back. So we're going to start with Winnie.
Yes. Okay. I am looking at senior citizens this week, and I am not just looking at the negatives. It's a wonderful idea to have Senior Citizens Month, beginning September 4 and ending October 3. And the theme is healthy, active, productive aging. That is what the theme is. And
healthy, active, productive aging.
yes, that's the theme for this year, for Senior Citizens Month. And
Yes.
I don't believe enough attention is paid to that. So most people don't even know that this is going on. There was a media launch, and I must commend the Clarendon Parish Library for the event that they put on last Tuesday.
All right, Winnie, just hold us a second first, Winnie.
Yes.
Coretta, are you hearing us now?
I'm hearing you loud and clear now.
All right, we okay, thank you. So we had introduced you, and we just wanted you to tell us from your position as Secretary General, no, General Secretary you call it, of the Guyana Teachers Union. Give us an understanding of what's the education situation in Guyana is today.
Well, Coretta MacDonald here, General Secretary, GTU, and I'm also an opposition member of parliament. In Guyana, we have an education sector that is just like any other in the Caribbean. We face our challenges, but of course, our teachers are leaving, and that is because our teachers feel underpaid, undervalued, unappreciated.
Underpaid and undervalued in Guyana. I don't want to interrupt you at all, but underpaid and you're washing over in oil money.
Well, you know what? Yes, we have now become the new buy, quote unquote, of the Caribbean, the country with the fastest growing economy in the world. But our people are starving. Our children are faced, they have to face conditions where schools without roof, with the heat now, many times the children are outside of the classrooms because they can't deal with the heat. We have power outages. Every now and again, you have power outages, and so it's in confusion. We have some confusion happening here. And rather than our Minister of Education, as a matter of fact, rather than the government paying attention to what is happening and fixing the schools in Guyana, fixing teachers' salaries, making their lives easier for teachers and their learners, and the citizenry in general, they have embarked on construction, road construction, and construction of schools, and construction of all kinds of buildings, hotels, and the like. While your people, your human resources, they're suffering, and so that's the trademark now.
Coretta, forgive me for jumping in again, and I'm going to promise you I'm going to give you a run. But we were told, and I'm as moderator here, I'm just saying this. We were told, and we saw your vice president from an article some time ago attacking you and saying you are the one who is holding up the salary increases going to the teachers, and Guyanese teachers did get an increase recently. Can you just tell us what's happening with that? They did get an increase recently that we felt that they shouldn't be running away from the country. But you go ahead now.
Well, let me tell you what. It's not the first time that the Guyana Teachers Union and the teachers in Guyana would have taken industrial action. The GTU is 143 years old. And from then, teachers would have embarked on industrial action. But let me come closer home. In 2018, when the coalition government was in the seat of power, the Guyana Teachers Union took industrial action against the government of the day. And that action was taken because teachers, the union was not satisfied with what the government was offering at the time. So we presented our proposal. The government ignored our proposal. And after several attempts of getting them to sit at the table with us, we took industrial action. During that time, Barrett Jagdeo, who's now the vice president, he was opposition leader then. And he was in full support of the Guyana Teachers Union then. As a matter of fact, Coretta MacDonald, who championed the cause now for the teachers, was championing the cause then, and I was champion girl then. And he is on several newscasts several Facebook recordings championing the cause of teachers and scolding the government then and saying to them, they need to talk to the teachers. They need to pay the teachers. As a matter of fact, Barrow Jagdeo went as far to tell the president he should stop spending all the monies he's spending on dietary. He should stop spending a whole lot of the monies they're spending on travel, and they should use those monies to pay the teachers. But in 2024, when Barrow Jagdeo's government party is now government, it's a different story. So when the teachers embarked on industrial action this time around, you're hearing that this action is politically motivated. This action is one that is led by Coretta MacDonald. Well, let me tell you what, Coretta MacDonald will always be the thorn in Barrow Jagdeo's flesh. Because whether it's my party...
The teachers got 10% this year increase and 9% coming next year and some other benefits. Is that not true? And why would you be opposed to that?
Well, let me tell you what. The Guyana Teachers Union presented a proposal to this government for 39.5% for our teachers who fall between TS scale 1 to 3. Those are the teachers, many of them, who are earning less than $600 per month. Some of them are earning $400 per month, maybe $450 per month. And so when we put forward that proposal, we catered for those between TS scale 1 to 3, 39.5%. For those who fall between TS scale 4 to 19, we proposed 30% increase. Of course, it's a proposal, and so we expected the government to talk with us. This proposal was on the table from 2020. You're hearing me? From 2020, this proposal was on the table, and the government refused to acknowledge this proposal. But here in 2024, they've decided now to push down our throats 10%. That's all they can offer, 10%. In all the oil that is sharing, with all the monies that are being given away, with all the corruption, they are prepared to offer teachers 10%. Let me say this, in 2016, and as a matter of fact, in 2018, when the government then, who hadn't access to oil resources, when they offered 10% to teachers, Barrow Jagdeo whipped them with his voice. He whipped them with words and asked whether it is only 10% that the government could offer teachers and other public servants. But in 2024, 8 years after, when we have so much, they are offering to teachers 10, 8, and 9%. Mind you, cost of living is way above the heads of every single public servant in this country, not only teachers, every single public servant in this country. And so that in itself, it's a shame, and it's a slap in the faces of public servants, and more especially the teachers of this country who have been giving of their services continuously to this government. In 2020, when we were faced with the COVID pandemic, and of course it was all across, our teachers were out there risking their lives towards ensuring that their learners were engaged. Our teachers were dropping off worksheets at the homes of children. They had boxes placed in their schools where parents could uplift worksheets, and they can drop off worksheets when their children would have completed whatever the assignment or the task was. Teachers were visiting homes. Teachers were distributing hand sanitizers, wipes, all the things you can think about. Teachers were doing that during the pandemic. But yet in 2024, all this government could do is to offer us 10, 8, and 9%.
All right, so let me just get a little shift now. I know that Desmond wants to come in. Go ahead, Desmond.
Coretta, tell us, what is the result of the CXC exam in Guyana? What is it? Tell us.
All right. So in Guyana, while the government doesn't respect the efforts that teachers put into their practice every day. Our teachers have been churning out every single year. We have been topping the Caribbean with our CSEC and CAPE results every single year for the last maybe 12 years, or might be more. This year, our top student, I think he got either 27 or 29 subjects. This is what we do here every year. One child got that. And then we had 26 and we had 24 and you have 19 grade ones and 21 grade ones and 22 grade ones and 24 grade ones. This is what we put out here every year. But you know, while this is good, the danger in this is that we only boast about that 1% that is matriculating. We don't pay attention to the masses of our students who cannot matriculate to be successful in English and math. We don't pay attention to those, but we make a lot of noise about the 29 and the 27 and the 26 and 24 subjects. And Guyana, again, topping the Caribbean. That's what is being paid attention to in this country. But I want to say a little more than that. I want to say to us that while the school buildings, many of the school buildings that our teachers work in, I'm sorry that I don't have some of the videos to show you, but we have schools in operation now. But you know what? Construction work is being done in those very schools. So the teachers have to be competing with hammering and a machine, dropping off something, picking up something, all kinds of things, dust flying left, right, and center. That is what our students and our teachers have to compete with here. But you know what? Because our teachers, many of them are dedicated to what they do. They continue to work under these conditions, even though it's not good for their health. And yet, our government, this government here, doesn't see the need to reward teachers.
So I want to shift you a little bit to the oil wells in Guyana and the prospect of massive changes to the lives of the Guyanese people. I know it's a short time. I know the government is saying it's in transition, some of the works programs and so on. I know, and we introduced you at the start as an opposition MP, but I know that you know what's going on the ground. What are the prospects for a significant change to the lives of Guyanese people?
Well, you know, if I understand you clearly, Guyanese people, the masses of Guyanese are suffering in this country. And the fact, one of the worst thing that is happening here is that persons cannot openly speak out about what is happening with them in their different workplaces or right where they live. As a matter of fact, I am here in the countryside of one of the areas, and I was just doing a live showing persons how people live here, the stagnant water, the congested drains, mosquitoes that are breathing there. And that's how people have to live in this oil-rich economy. But you know what? This country is divided into two classes, an elite class and a class that is not elite. And so the elites will continue to be elites, and the masses will continue to be poor. And that's what happens in this country. We have seen just last week, one company putting forward bids for pharmaceutical. And won 40 bids. One single company won 40 bids, whereas you had hundreds of other companies bidding for these, putting through their tenders for these bids, and one single company won 40 of the bids. So you can understand the level of corruption that is taking place in this country. So it's corruption when we talk about health, in terms of getting medical supplies. We have corruption when you talk about fuel, corruption there. Don't talk about the lighting facilities that GPL, which is the Guyana Power and Light Company. Every day you get power outages 3 and 4 times per day in some areas. for more than 8 hours. And this is the oil-rich country we're talking about. We have corruption in every single sector in this country. Education. You have one contractor.
Are you saying that the oil, the wealth, the new wealth is feeding that corruption, or is there any way, any sign that you see how Ghana is going to break out of that?
Well, it is coming. Yes, it's coming from some of the oil wealth, but this is what this government. This is a trademark for this government: corruption, drugs, all the drug trafficking. You see that every time the PPP's government is in office, you see that happening. I want to apologize to your viewers for the way I'm looking this afternoon because I'm out in the fields, but. Yeah. The information is what is important. When you talk about the drugs, it is rampant in Guyana. Every time this government is in the seat of office, we have drugs and drugs. We have several airstrips that have been made where you find planes are coming in and they're loading off drugs. Just about a month ago, I think it was, there was a tunnel that was found with hundreds of tons of cocaine, and nobody could say where it came from. Nobody saw anything. And you know what? There's a police station not too far, and nobody can see anything about that. We have seen again the kidnapping happening in Guyana once again. We have an issue right now where a senior police officer, I think he's a deputy commissioner, deputy assistant deputy commissioner, something like that, or an assistant commissioner of police who was involved in a scandal right now. He's on administrative leave. We've seen a permanent secretary being her telephone and laptop being confiscated by the U.S. government, her visa being revoked. Well, don't talk about revocation of visas because several of our government ministers, their visas have been revoked. You saw sometime earlier in the year where a minister was forced to resign because of public pressure, because of allegations of rape and sodomy of young teenage indigenous girls. And so all this government would do is just ask them to step aside, and the business, everything else continue as per normal. We saw a minister.
Desmond wanted to ask you another question before I come back in because I want to ask you something else.
Coretta, next year is election in Guyana. And
yes.
I know that there is a serious problem with the voters list. Now, what is the opposition and what is being done to clean up the voters list for the next election?
Well, we have seen coming out of the 2020 elections, we saw exactly where the rigging was taking place. As a matter of fact, we were part and parcel, part and parcel of the recount. And we saw there where 49 boxes contained ballot papers, and you had no statutory documents to support them. 49 boxes. We saw voters, one voter voting several times. We saw dead people's name appearing on the list, and they were voting. And so this has said to us that we've got to clean the list. And so the opposition has been asking. Every Tuesday, we have a picketing exercise in front of the Guyana Elections Commission where we're asking for a clean voters list. And we're asking not only for a clean voters list, but we're asking that voting be done through biometrics so that you cannot have impersonation happening. It is sickening. It is sickening what happens here. And you know what is even worse is that some of our Caribbean leaders, prime ministers and so on, they are part and parcel of this skullduggery that continues to happen. Many of them have been part and parcel of installing this regime that we have here now as government in Guyana. Rather than saying the elections was null and void, they have all concluded that the elections was free and it was transparent. and it was fair.
But the protest went to the Supreme Court. The protest went to your highest court, didn't it?
Yes. Okay. And as a matter of fact,
Coretta, I just wanted to ask again, with regard to, because there are lots of people who see Ghana. In fact, there have been discussions in various groups, not at government level, surely, but discussions in different groups in Jamaica that Guyana might be the next place that's going to be the takeoff place with all this possibility of oil wealth, that it's going to offer new opportunities for the Caribbean people generally. And you are saying, from what you are saying, it doesn't look that way.
Well, what I can tell you is that in Guyana, bona fide Guyanese are not offered the kinds of opportunities that you really want to have. What we find here is that lots of foreigners are coming into this country and they are given quite a lot of concessions as against those who are bona fide Guyanese. The bona fide Guyanese who are benefiting from what the oil has to offer are those who are in the elite. And, let me say this. We have this government going out there. Of course, it's part of their elections campaign where they're offering cash grants. But the cash grants that is being offered when the ministers and the vice president and so on, when they go to several areas, it is not being given across the board. It is given to persons who are their supporters. And so you will have loads of citizens all lined up at whether it's a community center or whether it's at a church or a mosque or wherever they're having this meeting. But when you turned up there, you would hear, your name is not on the list. Your name is not on the list. So they come with a prepared list of their supporters who are benefiting from these cash grants. We have cash grants being given to husbands. Then the next turn, the wife. Then the next turn, maybe a son or a daughter. But you have one family who's benefiting from this, whereas other families, they can't even get one cash grant. We've seen during flooding in Guyana, where some areas, the government would go out there and they would offer all sorts of things to bring relief to the residents. And in other communities, sometimes they don't even go. Or if they go, you would see them offering a black bucket with a maybe 2 pints bottle of Marvic bleach, maybe some soap powder, and maybe some hand sanitizer or something else, and that's it. Right now we have an issue in Linden, which is Region 10. That's a stronghold of the opposition. But the government, they have gone out there, but not to offer the kind of support to the residents there like they would offer in areas where their supporters are living.
So Coretta, we have 2 minutes to wrap up this segment of the program, but here's what I really wanted to ask you now. What institutions or institution is there or are there in Ghana that will help to restrain that political process that you describe as corruption? And there are some who would say, well, she's on the opposition side, so she's got to knock the government hard, make allegations and so forth. But what institution or institutions are there to restrain what you are talking about?
Well, let me tell you, the institutions themselves are corrupt. Because you know why? The people who sit on those institutions are appointed by the government. Like I mentioned earlier, one company winning 40 bids, got 40 contracts, one single company to bring pharmaceuticals into this country. And so if you're talking about a tender board that is professional, a tender board that is neutral, then you could never have one company winning 40 contracts. Just last week, we had an issue there with one of the most renowned sculptor we have in Guyana, a young man by the name of Mr. Thom. He is the administrator for the Burroughs School of Art. For some reason, he happened to step out of his office and he recognized that there was a strange vehicle parking in the compound. So he reached over to the driver and he said, sorry, you can't park in this compound. These spaces are only allotted for staff and the students operating here. Mr. Tom is an Afro-Guyanese. The person who was driving the vehicle is an Indo-Guyanese. The guy came out of his vehicle and he said, it's people like you, black people like you who got this country how it is. People like, and he heard a whole lot of insults at him. The man still continued to insist, you cannot park here. The female came out of the vehicle and she started taking pictures of the young man and she was trying to find out what is his name. The next thing the young man knew, well, the young lady went on her phone. The next thing the administrator got was a phone call from the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture. He called the administrator and asked that he report to his office immediately. The administrator reported to his office. And you know what he did? Rather than saying he was sorry for the exchange of words, he scolded the administrator and he went as far as to say, my government, this kind of attitude that you have, it's not for my government and not for this ministry. You are not a watchman. Why? What you're doing out there? And with that, the administrator immediately tendered his resignation because he found that to be disrespectful. So he tendered his resignation. Good luck for him. He made it public, and so the students of that institution, they wrote letters and highlighted and brought that out in the public. And they were saying that this is disrespect to their administrator, and their work that they would have started is going to be incomplete because the administrator is leaving. The vice president heard about it, and the vice president called the administrator and he said, look, we are not accepting your resignation. I spoke to the minister. I scolded the minister and I told him that the issue was badly handled. You will return to work on Monday. I'm highlighting that to say, up to this point, we've not gotten an apology from the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture. And it's not the first time he's doing it. So while we have the Ethnic Relations Committee or commission that was supposed to have looked into this matter, they are absolutely silent, not a word from them. We have another issue where Afro-Guyanese in a village called Muka, Arcadia, their homes were demolished by this government, who claimed that where they were living, it was hindering the road that they were going to be building there. 2 years have passed. We've not seen anything happening there. And where the road is built, it is so far away from where those people were living. And that was an Afro-Guyanese community that was demolished, half of the community demolished, because this regime feels that where those people are living, because it's a new highway you're putting there, their properties are going to be more highly valued at this time. And there has been no apology from this government for what they did to those people there. And we've had several other instances where Afro-Guyanese have been marginalized by this government. So the ERC, they function when it's convenient, not consistent. Where I am right now, at this young man who's having a wash bay, he's being harassed by an Indo-Guyanese neighbor. And if you look at where he's operating...
Coretta, sorry, we have run out of time for the segment, but I'm sorry we didn't raise earlier or didn't put in the context of the race issue or the ethnic issue in Guyana, which is a different sense to it than having anything in Jamaica, because that is a constant long-running issue that adds to the problems of Guyana. But from us listening to you, you have also told us about a strong sense of protest. The opposition, for example, to which you belong, the opposition continues to protest, continues to fight, continues to get police, and all of that. And we expect the people of Ghana to keep working for these democratic traditions, keep fighting the corruption issues. But many of the things that you said, I'm sure resonated with the Jamaicans. And just before you go, I don't know if Desmond wanted to make a final comment and
You want to have my final comment, you're saying? Sorry?
you go ahead, Coretta, before we close off right here.
I just want your viewers to know that we live in a small community. And what is affecting us here in Guyana, it's going to trickle down to your territory and to the other territory and to the other territory. What we have to do is to stand up as a people and condemn wrongdoings when they are wrong, and when they are right, we commend them. But for the wrong that we've been having, we're seeing that too many of our leaders are corrupt. Too many of our leaders are corrupt. So they fall prey to the same kinds of things that are happening. So Tom can't speak to Jerry because Tom and Jerry, they're involved in the same thing. And let me close by saying, we just had not just had, but we've continually having this issue with Venezuela and Guyana, where Venezuela is claiming three-eighths of Guyana. And we have seen our Caribbean leaders, rather than supporting Guyana, we have seen them shown their support in other ways. But that's another story that we'll have to talk about.
Yes. And some have stood with Guyana, though. Some of these Caribbean leaders.
Yes, some have stood with us.
Very clearly.
Yes. But some, because they have debt write-off and so on, they can't say anything. But that's another story.
That's another story for another time, and we will definitely come back. But thank you for your engagement. And you have a show. Is it a podcast weekly? I just want to tell people where they might find
every
it.
Wednesday from 6:30 Guyana time to 8 o'clock, advancing the cause.
Advancing the, and where do we pick that up? Advancing the cause. And where
So
do we
you
pick
can
that up?
you can see me on Facebook, you can meet me on YouTube, on Twitter.
Okay, beautiful. All right, we want to thank you again, Coretta, for standing in there and as the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, and she's a member of Parliament, and she's an opposition member of Parliament, and she shadows education.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. Do have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
And that's Coretta McDonald, and she's out in the field out there in Ghana, and she agreed to come on with us. She knew that she was going to be here, but she's out there in the field, and she told you she apologized for her outfit, but she's on the ground, and she's an aggressive and competent Guyanese dealing with many issues that they have here in Ghana. Okay, so we want to come back now to Winnie. We interrupted you, Winnie, because we had to go to Coretta there, and we wanted to take on the matter of seniors in Jamaica, Winnie. But seniors in Jamaica, Winnie, are just treated. I mean, we wouldn't even start. But you go ahead. It's your place. Winnie, where are you gone? Did we just lose Winnie there? Where's Winnie gone? Oh my goodness. Okay, all right. Desmond, you wanted also to an update and an uptake on the Integrity Commission.
Well, one of the things that we have seen since the tabling of that report, that we have seen the politicians, government politicians, attacking the Integrity Commission. We saw the Minister of Justice saying that the Integrity Commission should be compelled to verify the Prime Minister's statutory declaration. How that is to be done, I don't know.
But he's saying it's too long out there, and the report is supposed to be conclusive.
Yes, but one thing I know is that the politicians, the government politicians, they are opposed to the Integrity Commission, and they have shown signs of this, not just now, for a while now. the public, we have to stand by the Integrity Commission. The country needs an Integrity Commission to ensure that our politicians, those who are elected to run the country, that they live by the rules. This, what we are asking for, we are saying to the Prime Minister, tell us, how did you accumulate your wealth? How did you are earning $12 million, and we see accounts where $425 million was passed through that account. Tell us. We just want you to tell us, how did you obtain your wealth? That is what we want, right? And the
Integrity Commission is who we have to rely on to take us there. And the Integrity Commission has also put on us for the FID to help them to do the work that is necessary, the further investigation, and for the Jamaica tax to also help them to do some investigation.
Yes. So we are relying on the Integrity Commission to take us through this process and to ensure that the politicians, public servants, stick by the rules.
And we know also, Desmond, along those lines, that this week, Tuesday coming, I think it is, that the members of the Integrity Commission, or the commissioners of the Integrity Commission, of the department, should be appearing before the Oversight Committee of Parliament that deals with them to answer some questions. And I think it's very important that they appear to answer some questions, because they're not beyond being asked to answer questions.
No, not at all. Not at
all. Winnie, I'm sorry, we don't know why you got knocked off, Winnie, but you go ahead.
Yes. Where was I? I was saying that senior citizens, although there's Senior Citizens Week, not week, month, there's a whole month that is dedicated to senior citizens. I don't know how many persons know that. I don't think it is as widely publicized as it should be. It's September 4 to October 3. Healthy, active, productive aging. That is a theme for this year. And I was commending the Clarendon Parish Library for the function that they put on for senior citizens this week. That was well attended, despite the rains and the fact that they took the time out to really pay some attention to senior citizens. And I'm saying that senior citizens should be treated better, because a lot of the wealth in this country is owned by senior citizens. Most senior citizens have their own homes, they have their own vehicles, they pay taxes, and they have bank accounts. So they are part of the economic base of this country and should be treated with respect, not just waiting until they die to claim what they have, but to treat
treated with respect means what, Winnie? Treated with respect means what?
Let me, in the interest of time, let me go to my main grouse with treatment of senior citizens. There's no good reason to ask people who are 60 and over to present a life certificate.
No, a life certificate.
A life certificate. Once you're not reported dead or missing, you should not have to produce a life certificate. That is oppressive and unnecessary, especially in this technological age. And many people have to produce 2 certificates, one to the Ministry of Labor and another to the Accountant General's Department. 2 different arms of government. You have to be telling them you're still alive. Many years ago, when I discovered that this was in place, I said, no, this is totally wrong. It should not be, and especially now, it shouldn't happen.
But Winnie, thank you. We know we're going to have to come back to this issue, whether the month is gone or not, because believe me, the treatment is not just a matter of courtesy, and it's not certainly not just the life certificate. That's our show for today. Thank you all for joining us for the live presentation of Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast. Remember to subscribe if you haven't yet done so. So we'll also want to share. We also want you to share the link. The full podcast can be accessed by going to the Frankly Speaking YouTube channel by this very link. On behalf of Desmond Richards, Winnie Anderson Brown, Joshua Black for technical services, I'm Franklin McKnight. Thanking you. Until then.